Hi Spacechain community and partners, this is Z, and today I'm very excited. So we're at the Milken Institute. We just finished a panel on the space business together in a fintech, in a finance conference. That's pretty cool. So today we have Jonathan Horn from SSTA. So could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I'm from the Singapore Space and Technology Association. I'm very happy. Spacechain is one of our strong partners and members of the organization. The SSTA overseas helps to coordinate all the space activity in Singapore. We are a trade association. We have a lot of corporate partners like Spacechain, and we help to accelerate their growth in Singapore and also in the region.
Yeah, I know you are the president of the association. Could you share a little bit more about why did you start this and how the history of it?
So we don't have a very long history. It started out about 12 years ago. Back in 2007, I had shortly returned from the US. I was trained there, and then I came back, and we were looking to see how we can accelerate the growth of the space industry, because I think globally the space industry has always been quite strong.
Yep.
The Western powers have always taken the lead, at least back then. And when I came back to Singapore, I was with the Singapore EDB, and we started to look at how we could look and propel the space sector. Unfortunately, we didn't have a very strong space industry here in Singapore. We had a very strong aerospace industry.
Yes.
That till today continues as well. We have a very good electronics base, manufacturing base. We have good infocoms and media companies, and very good precision engineering companies. So we have all the key ingredients for the space sector, but we didn't have a space industry. Yeah. So that's really how we decided to form the SSTA, a central body that can help to support the industry as a whole. And in at least Singapore's pragmatic perspective, we wanted to make sure that the industry could stand on its own 2 feet. Yeah. A commercial model, and that's why the industry association SSTA has taken the lead in fronting and supporting space activities in Singapore.
Oh, that's very cool. Because the first personal interaction with SSTA was actually GSTC, so the annual conference that they host in Singapore.
Right.
So when I attended, I was really surprised because a lot of our partners from Israel, from US, came all the way to Singapore, and that's really impressive. And how did that come on for you guys?
So the GSTC platform is quite a unique platform. From the get-go and on start, we wanted to make sure that it was a commercial platform. I mean, certainly we have a lot of technical and governmental summits and bilaterals that happen throughout the 2-3 days. But very importantly, we believe that there must be a translation opportunity, I think, for all companies, all members that attend. Time is very important for everyone, and being able to demonstrate that the space industry has very strong, tangible commercial output. Yeah. That even whether you are a startup, you are an OEM, big company, small company, it doesn't matter. But when you come, there are opportunities, and you can lay the ground for something that can last you a couple of years. Yeah. That's important for us. And the GSTC is an annual event, so in a way it's a checkpoint as well. We don't want people to come, sign MOUs and just walk away, and 1 year later they tell us the same thing, right? Yeah. It's a stress test. I think we put it that way. The GSTC has become a very stressful conference, which people like, because it also forces people to make a difference. You have 365 days to work it out, and to demonstrate success every year.
So because actually we are already planning together on having a blockchain workshop along with the next year's GSTC. Right. So I know you guys. So I feel like you guys are doing a lot of this kind of similar format of activities to kind of not just promote the space by itself, but with a lot of integration with other technology.
Yes.
So is there any? So I know blockchain being one of them because we're a member.
Oh, it's important.
What kind of trend have you seen on this kind of new technology or new integration has become into our space industry?
It's very important. So first and foremost, I think not just for the GSTC, although it anchors this at heart, but the applications of space technology is the cornerstone of, I think, what we are trying to bring out. And frankly, I think in our perspective, that's the lowest hanging fruit as well. Right? There must be some applied tech, applied science to the man on the street, which is something I strongly advocate. So if you attend a GSTC conference, and again to the various platforms that we have throughout the year that SSTA runs, many of it is very targeted and very user-based. Today, satellite technology, as you very well know, is used as a means to an end. Right? We are running partnership programs with guys who are in the communications business. We're talking to fellas that are providing imagery as a source of data analytics to other industries, whether it's insurance, the maritime sector, energy and all that. There's a huge demand today for analysis. And moving forward, again, I mean, with respect to the finance industry, that's also becoming a critical industry that is looking for new innovation, new ways to, I guess, find ways to monetize a business. And also, I think, again, as a backdrop today, because it's a very globalized world, transactions go across transcontinental transactions have increased, and in many forms of currency. Right? So I think with that respect, having a blockchain-enabled solution, I mean, basically you are trying to, or at least we are trying to say that encrypted communications works across sectors, and the finance industry is no different. Right? So I think in this respect, blockchain capabilities augmenting the current satellite solutions would be actually quite a big bonus to many industries, even beyond finance.
So when we started like Spacechain in Singapore, and many people ask me why Singapore, but actually when I think of it, like especially when you do either blockchain or space business, there's no way you stay just local. It doesn't work that way anymore. Because you need to talk to the British, to the Chinese, US, everybody. Then we started our UK company has been developing, and we have a US partner with all over the world. So what do you think of the Singapore? What kind of role does Singapore play in the space industry, and kind of what kind of vision do you have for like Singapore being part of the?
So Zee, I think you have very good foresight choosing Singapore. I'm not being biased, but the whole basis of I think satellite communication is it must go from point A to point B. So being in a spot that a very well connected spot, our node, I think to the rest of the world is fundamental for your business, and not just your business. I think for every other industry that has set up shop, have grown deep roots in Singapore, they have found that connectivity actually has enabled them to grow leaps and bounds. So finding that right choice is like finding the right retail shop for your Starbucks. You need to be at the right location. You can have 100 Starbucks, right? But the ones that will do well are those in the right location. So I think for Spacechain, having that headquarter node here has certainly been a bonus for you. Again, then for growing the business out of Singapore. But Singapore has been over the years seen as a very pro-business country. Ease of doing business has been something that Singapore continually promotes, and also I think companies enjoy as well. It is something that the country has proven. There's a good track record of. Many of your potential partners, customers, and when you go into the capitalization phase as well for VCs, it's actually a must-be location, because again, Singapore is naturally not just a technopreneur hub as it is seen today, but traditionally and even till today, it's a finance hub.
So-called old money kind of all gathered here.
And also because ultimately there are many factors that I think want for big boys to have in Singapore. One of them is, connectivity is one of them, but the other element is safety and security, right? And not just personal safety, but business and commerce safety as well. No doubt there are many global issues today that affect our markets, but ultimately the Singapore government's monetary approach, our fiscal policies are quite sound. We diversify, we don't put everything in one basket, and that has enabled a fairly stable Singapore dollar, for example, across multiple currencies. And that also has helped to balance out the economy, shield it, from big upswings and downswings. And again, the government takes a very proactive approach here to support industry. So in a way, it's not entirely the right analogy, but the best VC, some people look at it, they say it's the Singapore government, because not because they have to invest in you, but you can see when they make a decision, it's quite well thought out. And that strategy is one of the reasons that companies, including yourself, I think, find comfort in being here, and then you can expand overseas with a very solid foundation.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of Singapore is that the international brand. People hear about Singapore, people basically think you're from very solid regulatory environment.
Yes.
You guys did check a lot of boxes
for
kind of I think definitely we would definitely benefit from it. So talking about kind of like startup and VC. I know you guys are setting up different kind of like workshops and partnerships. Also, there's this space challenge I saw.
Yes.
Very interested. So, how do people participate and how can they connect it out of it?
The Singapore Space Challenge was designed to support our talent development activities. We are a strong believer, and I think all startups need good talent. Right? And talent starts at a very young age.
Yes.
So our space challenge started out actually with older kids, students in universities, high school, junior colleges. But over the years, as we have seen the space challenge evolve, we've gotten secondary school kids, or middle school kids starting to get involved in these design competitions, and we get them involved at an early age to continue to see the interest in science and technology. We want them to have a good foundation in science. I think with that, and eventually they can continue to more advanced degrees. They can go into many sectors. I wanted to say on our panel at the Milton Institute just now that if you wanted to hire a good engineer or a good risk assessment officer, you should go and hire a guy from the space industry.
Yeah,
because you'll be sure you won't have any mistakes in your calculations.
Any kind of mistake will cost you a lot of time and money.
Exactly. So a good 1/3 of our efforts actually is placed in education talent programs. The Space Challenge is one of them. It's catered to more design-centric thinking. So the challenge requires companies to throw out problem statements. They are real problem statements, industry problem statements. And I invite Spacechain in the near future to maybe even be one of the partners to the Space Challenge, because the problem statements cuts across a variety of fields, right? You can certainly have the technology element, but again, how do you layer it with applications such as blockchain, for example, to serve a certain industry? And the students have to validate this. And today's students are quite creative. They come up with all kinds of measures, and then it's validated with industry, such as yourself, right? Because you are an industry leader in this area, you will know who to talk to, who are the right chaps to validate this. And if the ideas are mature, and some PhD chaps or master students come together as well to participate. We have young engineers. We open it up to everybody basically, and they can come together, seed an idea. If it's mature and the companies and judges feel it's something they want to take on, you are free to work with us to onboard some of these young companies, startups, or even students, to hire. So again, it's a pipeline of talent that supports the industry. Yeah,
that's something actually we want to do for a very long time, because one of the primary purpose for us is lower the barrier of entry.
Yes.
Make it available. That's why we promote open source technology, and then to basically you don't need to buy the expensive software. You don't need to know every piece of it, but just kind of like make it easy to use platform. So we have been thinking about this. Actually, if we can work with some of the students in labs, and especially more senior students, if they have a good idea and we have an extra room for payroll, we can just launch together.
No, that's great, because it's important that we give the students also access to live projects. I think today the experience is much needed. If they can work closely with startups in a structured environment, I think that will accelerate their education. Many of them may think that, okay, I'm still in school, let me not finish my school, I want to become the next Bill Gates, and then just jump ship. We also see that there's pros and cons. There are only so many Bill Gates, and yet we also want to, not being too conservative, but I think we also want to ensure that the students have a structured approach to success. So we want to marry them with the right type of young companies and startups. Startups that have gone through a certain cycle, are more mature, such as Spacechain, for example. right? And have an experienced team to work with these students that are ready to then translate. Because we don't want to also go the extreme, and we have a whole bunch of students going to startups and then nothing happens. So again, we want to make sure that we channel them to the right startups. And I think actually Spacechain is in a very good position because you are in a bit of both.
Yes.
You have the tech and the space element, which I think has been very inspirational to many of our new students, young students who are looking to go into science. And at the same time, you also have the other commercial, financial, commerce sector that you work in, which is also a very big backbone of the Singapore community. Right, so if you want to hedge and you're a young student, you want to convince your mother and father that you're doing something right, but actually maybe this is not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's an awesome pitch to attract more people to get in the industry.
You get to go into engineering and then you get paid by the finance guys.
Yeah, exactly. When we started this, and I'm like, if we want to do a space startup, we shouldn't be competing with communication guys, GPS guys. They have been running there forever. They're really good at what they do.
Yes.
And let's find out some use cases, and that's something the industry has been looking for. So
yes.
So I think you also probably saw the announcement that we just made yesterday. We received grant from European Space Agency about blockchain application. So we're really excited. We definitely see this trend that space people are continue looking for innovation for young companies to get in, because I think many people consider space as a very traditional company. It's really difficult to get in. So I want you to have this elevator pitch to a young company who are considering about space industry but too scared. It's like, I don't know if I can do this. So what would you say to them?
Talk to Zee. No, it's there's certainly of course we today say that the space industry has changed. It's democratized. The barriers of entry are lower. But that being said, there are barriers. The space industry is not for the faint-hearted. It's typically, for most space companies, satellite companies, just like a hardware startup. You touch hardware, you just 10 times harder to succeed. Right? You need more capital. But the reality also is that it's a very niche fraternity. You get the top guys. I think in this sector, if you want to really learn, have a diversified view, and immediately go global. I think the space sector is one of the few sectors that gives you that immediate catapult from the start. There's no real fear. I think for a startup, they're just very passionate. So I think they should just dream big and go for it. I think the only thing that they should consider is that it has to, again, like what Spacechain is doing, and many other successful space startups are currently embarking on. It does have to have a good low-hanging fruit approach, right? Certainly going into manned missions, exploration is something that companies are doing today, and they're doing very well. SpaceX as well started small and they've made it as well. We have a lot of small launcher rocket companies, satellite companies that are moving up the value chain too. But ultimately, if it actually has a very strong, tangible application, I think, to society, to people, to your day-to-day life, and I think whether it's solving an engineering need, environmental challenge, and in today's case, a financial challenge through communications, for example, I think, or encryption. This is something that is a very, very close to heart concern. So again, it solves a real concern today, and you are preparing for tomorrow's evolution. So again, this is something which we believe is a success factor ingredient in startups. If they can do that and have that in their plan and vision, then I think they are probably on a stronger start.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because I have a very different opinion on the so-called low-hanging fruit with many other people. Because if you think about it, if you do an application on e-commerce or messaging, probably you have 100 competitors.
Yes.
And they're all pretty good at what they do, and they're serial entrepreneur, and if you're new, with a startup, then you're facing so much competition.
Yeah.
But space, although there's strong competition, but like I said, everybody has this kind of mindset. It's really hard to get in, so let's try something else instead of space. So it's actually so many opportunities there. And, And we definitely see the opportunity there, and that's why we the reason I got in and I feel so a lot, like so much energy.
Yeah. So the network is important. I think for the startup community. I mean, for anybody looking to get in, I think very importantly as well. I mean, of course, you must have the core foundation principles there, but you must have a very good network as well, a good trusted network to try and test your ideas, validate your thought process. Because if you really get into the right network of space professionals who can guide, get good mentors as well, which is also important. And even if you get capitalized, smart money is also important as well. People that can get you to the point as fast as possible. And these are things that I think are very basic, and it's no different in any other industry. For the space sector, it's again because it's even more niche, right? So you have to start right. I think that's the most important. Timing and starting right is very important.
When we started Spacechain, that's a very funny point that we always talk about internally, is that when I try to find a rocket launcher, I'm like, oh, is there a website I can search, like which rocket? Because I was thinking of, I think this is kind of automatically like assumption, because this is how any other like industry is doing.
Go to Amazon and buy a rocket.
Yeah, exactly. So all my like connection advisors like, oh, you need to actually go meet the guys and the people. I mean, like that makes sense for sure, but also I think there are better way. I keep thinking about it. So I saw you guys actually are helping a lot of companies handling a lot of those kind of logistic rocket launch opportunities. Like how did that have been like working with you guys, and how can our partners and us like benefit from it?
Oh, I think it's so for new entrants or for actually companies as a whole. I mean, today it's a bit like shopping. I mean, yes, you're right. Just say you're buying a big liquid fuel rocket to go to space. But that being said, the due diligence to find the right guy is important, because again, for a younger company or even for a matured company that needs to get access to space, they need to make the right selection. I mean, you have seen in the news rockets not going up, delayed. Some have technical faults. And that can delay a business by a year or 2 years. We have our own experiences as well. If you are a small company, you are not the main payload. You are a piggy bank. You can have the best technology in the world. But time to market still holds true. If you're not there, you're not there. You need to be in space. You can't test the payload. You're finished. And then your competitors who have control over these assets tend to leapfrog. So again, there are many ways to win, right, in any business. So the SSTA comes in, I think, because we have quite a bit of domain expertise in identifying, doing due diligence, also hearing quite closely on the ground, what the sentiments are with certain partners and players. I think that's where that careful, advice and guidance to companies is very crucial. Again, as a startup or new companies, you certainly are very cost sensitive as well. But sometimes, if you hedge with a cheap launcher, right, that's not proven. There's nothing wrong being cheap, But again, the issue is track record. Having all their boxes checked in terms of being able to provide a credible launch. This is something which is very important. I mean, many players today are saying that I can get you up there quickly. So the SSTA would really validate that to the line, right? Because there are many elements. It's not just about being capitalized enough for the company to survive and last that long. Whether it is using certain types of technologies to get them there, whether or not they have secured a launch site, whether or not they pass regulatory framework, where are they launching from. We had some discussions about export control. Not all companies are comfortable with certain things. So the whole matrix is very wide. There are more and more people coming into this space. So you really got to get the facts right. So I think SSTA being not just a regional partner, but also an international partner to a lot of these players. And true, because the GSTC platform has become a source of strong, neutral knowledge. It's a knowledge hub, I would say, of market intelligence for space. That's where we can support companies quite effectively.
Yeah, because this is just idea stage, but actually we have been thinking about utilizing blockchain with all the logistics thing you just said. Because if a company needs to build a track record, they basically put their data on the blockchain, then you can identify immediately what kind of time step there is. They made a launch, it was with whom, and how successful it was. So you need to be really careful for every step along the way. So So and it has a transparency, has guarantee of a trust. So yeah, we have to think about it. So we should definitely talk more.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea because trusted information is even harder to come by.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So if you have the ability to have and build a trusted knowledge bank, I think it's important because I mean a launch is not cheap. That plus insurance, plus the whole project and all that, and you certainly don't want to delay, an announcement, So all these things has a lot of cost to it,
It's just such a small industry. Everybody knows everybody. If you don't do what you promise, and people just know.
Yes,
right?
yes, that's right. It's very you feel it quickly, but at the same time, I mean, it's small enough that you can try, test, fail, come back. Within the same period. You don't need to wait a generation for things to change. You need to wait for the new internet IP protocol to change before you get into the game. If you don't do well, you fail. You can bounce back quite quickly. And to the analogy that you made earlier as well, the mobile phone disruption. I mean, the space industry is no different. I think it will radically change over the next 3 to 5 years again, right? As it's changing rapidly over the past decade or so, and people just have to shift. Right, so it's just timing, and if you can fit into those spaces, and again, not just the space industry is changing, all the other industries that it affects, right? Whether it's communications, whether it's aerospace, or even other sectors as well, they all will be evolving at the same pace. Finance sector as well. So it's in a very good spot.
Totally agree. So I have one last question. So what's the future for SSTA, and kind of what kind of future plans you have for the organization and all the events you're on?
I think we are at the stage where we are rapidly scaling up all our activities. To some degree, we are also trying to structure more verticals to cater to different parts of the industry. I think it's grown to a size today, SSTA as a whole, where we are starting to segment carefully how we can support companies. To give one example, I mean, we are also embarking on a more dedicated accelerator for space startups. And I think that's something which is also a bit unique. I mean, there are many space incubators that are around the world. But where SSTA draws its uniqueness is because our foundation is set as a commercial platform. Right, from day one, we are not just helping the startups in a co-working space, giving them a bit of mentorship, guidance, from sketch to scale, capitalization of the companies, all the way to scaling them up and translating. I think we play a role in every bit of every piece of the puzzle, and we are quite capable and happy to step in as well and physically be operational on the ground to support the companies. So in that respect, I think that will be a new growth area for us because we will start to get involved more deeply. I mean, it has to be mutual, of course, with companies that see a partnership with us, and we would be able to commercially engage and help them expand regionally or internationally as well. And that will be from the acceleration side. From our knowledge bank and our platforms, a lot of data is coming through the organization. We probably will have to start to think on how we are going to be able to extract and also provide more useful data analysis to companies, because that is something that is highly in demand now. A lot of our partners that come to the conferences don't just actually come to the conference anymore. The follow-ups that come out of it is what we have discussed, finding out actually true analysis of the market. So with that being said, again, whether we scale up to provide more specific dedicated reports, whether we provide more structured analysis for companies, I think all that is on the table today, and the SSTA team will have to grow to cover that entire backbone, because I think every foundation to a solid business plan is that it must have credible information and intelligence before it moves forward. And we probably will play that role, not just for Singapore companies, but for any companies leveraging Singapore to go into the international scene.
Yeah, so being in Singapore as a space startup, so we definitely benefit a lot from our SSTA. And so in case our partners and community member want to learn more about you and find you, where can they go?
Well, they can talk to Zee as well. Yeah, but I mean, we are quite reachable. I mean, our website, I believe, is quite friendly. Yeah, but certainly, I think one of the platforms that you should attend in the coming months is our GSTC conference. For any first-timers, even in space, or wanting to go into space, or if you are looking to convince your shareholders, partners, or anyone I think in the community, I think it's a good starting point because again, over 48 hours, you get a good sense of the space economy, not just again in Singapore, but internationally, regionally, the commercial interest, I think, in people, again, from all walks of life. I mean, we have Spacechain all the way through to the traditional space chaps as well, right? So I think having that bird's eye view is important. And again, you know, over 48 hours, you get to meet with decision makers. So I think that's a very good starting point. But between then, now, and I guess throughout the rest of the year, we are always at our industry's disposal, and we're happy to have carry-on conversations with everybody.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for your time, and it has been a pleasure. And so, yeah, find SSTA, and I will see you at the GSTC conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.